Hello, this is a technical look into No Man's Land, a project that was created in 4 weeks by a team that started with 9 people but ended up going back down to around 4 people. During this subject, I became part designer and part programmer, even though my specialty is programmer. So, this is a look into that. Got the simple menus that I worked on. Just simple menus, they're not that big of a deal. Anyone could make them, they're really easy. Options just deletes the save file. I had that in there so I could test the level over and over again without worrying about the persistent save. Got the level select, it's just also really simple. It's locked when it's locked, it's unlocked when it's not locked. Just click on it and you're in. Got the ending, which is shown after the prototype. It's all just simple stuff. I doubt it would take long for people to make it because it's just really simple scenes. Now, I got the levels. Here is the first tutorial level, which is World 1 Level 1. If I select this, you should be able to see what I did with the collision. So some things have more collision than they need to have. That's just because I copy and pasted the prefabs and it just ended up like that. Okay, this is lagging a lot right now. Why? Okay. Let's see if I can actually stop lagging enough to get this to work. Okay, right here we have the floor here. It only uses this first tile that has collision. The rest of them don't have collision. Well, they shouldn't have collision. This one might... Hang on, I gotta deselect them all. Okay. It's selecting all. It's not really supposed to. But that's just how it works. Okay, only one of these has collision. Well, it's supposed to only have one, but because it's a prefab, it's just done all. Okay, only the main prefab has them, I guess. Anyway, this here is the floor. You walk along the floor. Man, I haven't looked at this for so long. I'm trying to find out the exact info. So annoying. Anyway, there's the floors here. There's also a floor here. This one's actually marked on layer ground, which it's supposed to be. That makes it so that you can't jump unless you're on that ground. This one is supposed to be marked as ground too, but I can't click on the right one for some reason. I'm not sure which one it was on. But one of these is supposed to be marked as ground. It might be the one under. Because, okay, what happens here is it's kind of hard to see. But you have this top bit here, which is marked as ground. Only that top bit is ground. The rest of it is not ground. This prevents the player from being able to jump up the wall by standing at the wall, because they can only jump while they're on ground. If I made the whole thing ground, they would just be able to scale the wall really easily. They would also die because there was a... Well, there is kind of an issue with collision to detect growing in small spaces. So if you grew and it was ground, you would grow into the wall and die because you're technically in the wall. But now, because it's not ground, if you grow, you'll be fine and you naturally get pushed out of the wall as you grow. Whereas normally, if you didn't have that type of collision set up, or if I didn't have that type of collision set up, you would go into the wall and die instead of getting pushed out, because it would count you as being in the ground at the same time. Don't know why I can't check that. I got these just simple chats. I wanted to fix the chats up so they only showed up some of the time, but that didn't work too well. Got the simple UI here. Just there, the grow and shrink. We call them bits and bytes because they're computer related, but yeah. This background here moves with the player, but it's a parallax background, so it moves at different timings. Like if I start this level, you can kind of see, like, see the trees move while the mountains kind of move in a different direction. So you can see around. If I grow, you'll notice it. But it spreads across, so it's a cool effect. I wanted to work on that more, but it just didn't work out how I wanted. I couldn't get it to work how I wanted to in a short period of time, so I just left it as is. But it took a bit of trying to get that to work, and it finally worked to a point where I was happy with it, but it was still kind of frustrating. You can see that better if I go into 3D mode. It's a bit hard to move, but you've got the different layers in front of each other, which makes the parallax work. The ones at the front, I believe, move more than the ones at the back because of how far away they are, so you get that nice effect layering that I liked. Now, a lot of this stuff has collision, but it's not supposed to. Like, the ground obviously only has that one layer, and everything else under it's not collision based because it's pointless to have too much collision. I'm pretty sure I get rid of this in a coder's duty, but I'm not completely sure because I haven't touched this project for a year, so a lot of it's still old. The portal system was made by another student. He worked on a lot of the base systems for me, which was great. So you have the level to load and you have the current level. We keep track of all the information to make sure nothing gets left out and fails. So when you go in this, you come out on the other side, which is whatever level is in here. So that would come out in this next level, which is level 2. It's pretty much the same as level 1, it's a training level, teaches them what a bit is, so they can shrink and go through the portal. Next level again, this adds in the key. This is actually a bit as well, but it's using the default sprite, not the one that we changed it to, because that became this later. That became this. But that's a leftover. It's an artifact. All these sprites here, like the ground, the bricks, and the door, the key, and this gem, they were from a different pack. They weren't actually created by anyone in our team. They were an open source piece of artwork we used just to save some time during prototyping. I got rid of a lot of that when I moved on to a coder's duty, but it's still in this because it's just a prototype. So the whole point is you get the key, you go through the door. The door only opens when you have the key, so you need a gold key. I planned for multiple different colored keys, so it uses this string here to determine what key is required for what door. So this is the gold key door, so it uses a gold key, but I could easily change it to red or blue and then just make the key a different type of key. Like right now its name is gold key. Oops. Its name is gold key, and it checks the name down here to make sure that it's the right key. And then you just go through the portal and you're in the next level again. Now those were just the tutorials. They're supposed to be a set difficulty. Then we move on to level 4. This level was created by me just to show off some possibilities of what the game could do, because how it was, we made this whole game in a week essentially, because the first 3 weeks got wasted trying to sort out team members and then team members not wanting to do any work, so we ended up with just 1 week to finish everything, and we rushed that week as hard as we could. But because of that, I was working as programmer and designer, so I had to program how the levels worked, and I also had to program the levels themselves. So I had to make all the collision, I had to put in all the blocks, I had to line them up, I had to check for bugs, and then I had to program the code behind the scenes to make sure it all did exactly what we wanted. I got some pieces of code from other team members, which I then had to rewrite so it would work with what we were doing. So a lot of that stuff got revamped a lot. I also had to code in the animations for the player, which I had to learn how to do. Everything that was done in this project, I had to learn how to do on the spot. I'd never used Unity before this project. But this level is just a fun level. I changed the time by editing the sprites and the backgrounds, so I made it darker. I also added a hole here. Added water, which doesn't have collision at all, you just fall straight through it. So the only collision is these blocks right here, which I can't actually get to because the camera's in the way. How do I hide this again? I don't know. But yeah, each block has its own little collision. It's about halfway down, so you can stand on the block and it's kind of that 3D effect. There's a key up here which you have to remember to grab. A lot of people will just come up here, jump over, grow, keep jumping. They will forget about the key and they won't realize they have to go back. But once you get up to the point up here, if you jump off, you can't get back. So you have to restart. So you have to grab the key before you make the final jump over. These gaps here are slightly lower than your max height distance, so you have to grow to make the gaps or else you won't be able to jump. These pieces of wood also have collision. Like I said earlier, only one of them has the collision, the rest are just simple, so that collision covers across. If you make each single one have collision, you can sometimes fall through the floor because it will count as multiple collisions, and the collision check was really bad. So you'll just fall through, but we found out that using just one collision box for the whole area worked really good. You didn't get any weird glitches, and it was good for prototyping. It's another gold key, just the same as before. This here isn't supposed to be here, that was just a block that was missing. It's probably there, but it's on the wrong layer. Yeah, it's probably on the wrong layer or something, because we had to change the positioning. Like, I don't know if it's 10 or something. Yeah, something like that. But because it's 1, it goes in a weird position where it's like behind the bottom block and in front of the top block. Oh no, it's really weird. Anyway, there's 2 doors here. You have to get the second key from down here and then you move on. It's really simple stuff still. Oh, this level also is the first time you see enemies. The enemies were supposed to come in World 2 onwards, but because of how the levels were set up and we rushed them, because I was designer, I had to rush it really quickly, so I just decided to throw everything we had in this level. There was like 1 day before submission of the project, so I'm like, I'm just gonna put everything we haven't done yet into this one level, and that's it. So I added a bunch of monsters here. These were made by our other programmer. We were supposed to have an artist working on the monsters, but the stuff he put out was not even related to what our game idea was supposed to be, so we couldn't use his ideas at all. They were really pixel art and they were low quality, so we ended up just chucking them, and she made this for us, and then I just cut it out and animated it using the piece of art I got. Anyway, moving on to World 2. This world was made, well, it wasn't made, it was designed by the other programmer, well, the third programmer that was working with us. She made the general concept behind this level, like machiney and just the way it is. And then I added all the blocks, lined them up, made the collision, made the jump heights and all that so they were correct, and then just went on with that. Made it so it was a puzzle. This background here isn't a parallax, but it does do the same thing as the other background where it spreads across the entire level. So you can have it move with you. This level I actually put the growth behind the player, so they had to backtrack, just as a little trick. But yeah, it's overlaps everything and just keeps looping. It does look kind of weird, but a lot of people don't pay too much attention to the background, so we just used that for the prototype. That was made by our other artist as well, so that actually is part of our work, I believe. He said he made it anyway, so I'm going on his word. But yeah, that's the level. It's just a simple jump puzzle, grow the right time. It's not that hard. It was actually supposed to be the first part of World 2, so it's still relatively simple. This was made before I made the previous level that was really hard. Now this level is supposed to be later on as well. It's probably the 4th or 5th level of World 2 where you've been introduced to enemies and all that stuff slowly. But again, we just wanted to show off what we could do, so I added everything possible. Okay, we've got the stationary enemies again. This time we have acid, which kills you when you touch it. You just explode. Actually, I haven't shown off the death animations yet. Oh wow, that's laggy as hell right now. Okay, please stop lagging. Okay, jump in the acid, you explode. For some reason that one doesn't have collision when normally it does. And here is the enemy explosions, just explode again. Same thing. Same death animation. Anyway, this one you have to pick up absolutely everything you can. You got to get the shrinker, you got to get the grower, get the key. Then you do a loop. If you run off the edge up here, most people just run straight off, and when they run off, they land on the enemy. That's why the enemy is placed directly underneath. So what you either have to do is you have to drop, or you have to try and jump over it. But jumping over it's also hard, because you can still hit it. The reason you have to jump off that way is because you can't duck under enemies, and this moving enemy right here will come back and kill you. So you have to jump off. You could possibly get under if you were small, but if you use that shrink, you die. So yep, you have to go around and then jump up when you're bigger. You can only make this jump if you're big. There's no other way to make it. Again, it's another trap here. If you fall straight off, you can't get back up to get this up here. So you're pretty much screwed. You have to restart. You have to get that first, then go down. Use the key you got back up here to get through the door and get the shrinkers. Now, instead of shrinking straight away, you have to grow and jump over here. This is a hard jump because it's pretty close to your max range. And if your foot touches the acid, you will die immediately. You also... This one actually has a collision, so you can't fall through it. But then you need to jump over this enemy as well. So if you're holding forward and you jump, you can sometimes clip your foot on the enemy, which will kill you because it has a collision box around it as well. Now most people try and jump over this, can't jump over it, it's not possible. You have to shrink and go under it, and then you have to grow and jump over here and then work your way up to the end. And that is pretty much the level. And then the final level is not really a level at all, it's just my testing zone. I spent a lot of time in here testing out the enemy movement. I wanted to get them to move left and right, up, down, and all directions. I wanted like diagonals, back, all types of different back and forwards motions. I got it working in the end, but I couldn't show it off in the gameplay, but it's in this world, kind of. So a lot of this was just testing how the player would grow. I also had to test collision with this wall, because there was a issue where if you grew in a wall you would explode, because that's just how it works. So I had to try and make it so that if you did grow in the wall, you would get pushed away and not die while you were touching the wall. Also had to make so you couldn't jump up the wall by spamming jump. A lot of testing happened in this world. There's actually no way to complete this level because you cannot get up here. It was just a sample level to try and fix out all the bugs. So that's just in the game. Now we'll have a look at some of the stuff we've got here. Okay, we've got the running def. I hope these are able to be viewed. Might not be able to. Damn. Okay, there's been no audio in this because it's just royalty free audio. It's not worth showing off. Got the different controllers here, which I set up. Took a little bit of time. You got the ground layer and the air layer. I don't think that's even really needed for the bug. That is the bug, right? Yeah, I don't think that's even needed for the bug. It's just there because I copy and pasted it or something. It's probably got the same names, even though it uses a different animation. It's most likely just like this. Because I didn't want to change much, so I just left it, I'm guessing. Wish I could preview this. I'm not sure why. Kinda sucks. Okay, I gotta do a model, it says. But why? There should be a model already. Whatever. This was old prefabs that no longer exist, so I'm pretty sure it is. Some of these might exist now, but it's been forever. All the scripts we had. I'll show off some of these, I guess. Oh wow, that looks really weird looking through it in OBS. Okay, let's have a look at this. Okay, here's the simple player. Just connecting it to Unity. Got some roof points and ground points so it can tell what the player is. If I go back, I can probably show you. Oh my god, I can't zoom in right now. Don't get that. Why won't Lily let me zoom in? Whatever. If I come to the player here, where are you, player? Here we go. Okay. The player here has some points somewhere. Oh, here you go. You've got the movement speed, size. You got these ground points here. They may be very hard to see. I'm not sure if I can even show you. Damn, I wanna visualize it. Hang on, I got the player now, so I should be able to open it up. There we go. Okay. There you go, you can see the little point right here. I got those 3 ground points to show where the player can stand. These are pretty much the player's collision. If you're not on that, you're not on the ground. Same for the roof points. If these are touching the roof, you cannot jump or do much. If the ground and the roof are touching at the same time, you die. Because the space is obviously too small for you to be in an appropriate place, so you just die. And that is pretty much how that works. Okay. Check what roof is. Got some air control, current scale, if the player is growing or not. A lot of this got changed in A Coder's Duty, but it's still here right now because we were prototyping. I didn't know how to use the program at all, really. So floating ground is like if there's a piece of ground that's not on the ground, but it's also not on the roof. It's just in space. Like there's nothing holding it onto the ground. There's nothing holding it into the air. It's just floating there. So there's just a lot of changing the size, changing movement speed. Movement speed affects how far they can jump and that. So it also makes them move faster. Because if you grew and you had the same movement speed, you wouldn't move that far at all. You'd expect to move faster, but you'd still move like a little small person. So you'd like tippy toe forward, which was kind of silly. Here's the typical commands. Like we wanted to give as many commands as possible. So you've got up arrow, W space, or jump. You got minus, both types of minuses. There's one on the numpad and also the one on the normal keyboard, just minus. So we got both of those. We also got both pluses. Just R for restart. And this here determines which way the player's sprite is facing. You need this to make them swap direction. If the player's on the ground, determines if they can jump or not. I actually moved that somewhere else, but yeah, it's still there. If the player's on the roof. It's been so long since I've even looked at this code because I've been working on the coder's duty more than this. So this code is pretty old. There's still heaps of comments in here as well. So there's a lot of this type of stuff, just changing shit. When you transform, you also have to change the camera scale. That took a lot of work. And then when animations were added, that also made a lot of stuff go crazy. But it ended up working pretty good in the end. Checking the triggers for the animation. Checking collision with enemies. And also death. Because I had a layer that was just death. If you touch it, you die. It's pretty much like acid or just falling off the map. So that's that, pretty much. That is the player. I made pretty much all of that. Some code was created by some other people, and I then edited it to go with my code. So not much work was conflicting. I made it so it was all synced up. Pause menu, it's just simple pause. I also did this enemy code here, so it would do all the different stuff. This largely was not implemented to the game. Like there was hardly any of this used in the game. It was just simple stuff in the game, which was really weird. But see, I made it so it would do everything, but literally none of this was used except the simple left and right, which is kind of sad, but I know how to do it now, so I'm happy with that. Also, here's the door handle. Just simple, just checks the name of the other, what the object is and all that, so it's really easy. Yeah, just simple code, there's not much really need for that. I'm not sure what this one is. Character, I'm not sure what that is either. Camera follow was actually made by someone else as well, but I also changed a lot of that to make it work correctly. But majority of it just stays how they had it. Like they did a good job. Not much else to say about that. They actually did what was required, so I didn't have to fiddle with that too much. This was made by another person, so I'm not going to look into that. Yeah, a lot of this is pretty simple. Just simple X's, like not really that much to worry about. Item manager just handles items pretty much. See, right now there's only gold key, and it just increments the variable for gold keys, but I was planning on adding like blue and red and pretty much any other type of key we needed, just to add some variety for later on, so you could be like, oh, you have the gold key but you need the red key, and we couldn't really show that off in this, which kind of sucks, but yeah, that's too bad. The parallaxing code was mostly done by someone else. It was like open source, but I did change it to try and make it work, but it's still open source, so there's no real need to show that off because it's nothing that I worked on. And it wasn't anyone else in the group either, it was just someone online did it. And that's why we used it. Menu scripts, it's just simple scripts. Yeah, the menu was mostly done by another team member, so it's pretty easy. But they made it go with the game manager, which took a lot of work on their part. They helped out a lot. He did the majority of the work for the menus, which was really helpful because I was focusing entirely on the levels. We had some old scripts from a previous prototype, but it wasn't the game idea at all, so it was mostly just scrapped. Got the different enemy states so they can patrol or just stay still. A lot of that is also not really used. Here's the sprites we had. That's not used at all. Player. Here we go. Maybe this will show off some of the animations. I don't want to view it there, I want to view it here. Can I actually show it off? Can I click something here to show it off? That would be brilliant. Damn it, it's not letting me show it off. Well, these are the sprites that make up the def anyway. There's a lot of stuff there. This is the open source stuff that we used. Well, I'm pretty sure it was open source. They said it was on an open source website and all that. But we only use them for prototyping. We weren't planning to sell this game, so we just used this stuff. So I mostly use the grass and the dirt here. Also use the key, water, all that. It was simple and easy. That was not used anywhere. Here's the menu sprites that were used. They're just really simple. But we only had one artist in the end working on a lot of the art, so we had to use a lot of open source artwork. This was the art used by the other programmer. She did a lot of this. I made the animations and made them move just by changing the original image. So, but yeah, she made the original image for me, which I then edited to make it move. Like I made the wings rotate so it looked like it was flying. It's just really simple stuff. And then just the backgrounds. A lot of these are also open source, but some of them we used a lot of the ones, like this one here was supposed to have been created by our artist, so we used that. This one I believe was also created by them, but we didn't use that because it didn't work well with the level. So I made the different times of day. We had plenty to use, but we just didn't get around to doing it. There just wasn't enough time. That's why we outsourced a lot of our artwork. I really want to show off these animations, but it doesn't let you show them off through here. I'm pretty sure I have to use the controller, but I can't remember how I did it. I haven't done this for so long, I have no idea how it worked. I'm not sure if I have to click this or what. Man. Okay, let's see if I can do this real quick. I want to make this work so I can show it off. I'll just select the player. That should work. How the hell? Okay, are you gonna do something? Oh, you are. Okay, this is the def. It runs and they explode. So it's finally working. A lot of this is just gonna stay uncut because I feel it's better to see how I'm doing everything as I'm doing it, like remembering what I did and all that. It would be really easy to cut it, but it's just better just to show off, I guess. This is the idle bug. It just grows and shrinks. That's just how I made it. Simple idle animation, just grow, shrink. Flying bug. This one flaps like I said earlier. Very simple, but it gets the job done. And when you add movement with that, it looks more realistic than that. This was supposed to be the resurrection animation. So he would start crouched on the ground and then get up after he exploded, because all his bits reform and he gets up healthy again. But I turned it into push-ups. This is really hard to see. Let me... There's gotta be a way to make this bigger. Hang on. There we go. Yeah, I changed it to push-ups because I didn't like how the resurrection animation turned up, and resurrection wasn't completely set up yet. So instead of wasting time trying to figure out all of that, I wasted time instead making a push-up animation, which is what happens if you let Noman stand still for a period of time. So it's kind of like an Easter egg. This is the original idle, where it starts doing push-ups, it crashes over, and then starts doing the push-ups. Then you've got the idle def. This is generally if you grow in a small area, you fall down and die. It's also if you stand still when an enemy hits you, you'll also do that. Just anytime you're not moving, you will die this way. Now this is the original idle. It's just up and down pretty much, just tippy-toe back to normal. It's not that fast when it's in the game. I believe it's like this. But this, showing it off, it's always faster. Don't know why. This is, I don't know, I'm guessing that's jumping. No, this is landing. When he lands, he does this kind of motion. And this is running. So weird looking at it like this. This is jumping. And this is the normal exploding when you die. Now, let's just show that off real quick, just so you can see properly what it's meant to look like. Like I said, the idle is slow. You leave it for, I think it's like 10 seconds, he'll start doing push-ups. So we'll just wait. There we go. So yep, there's just the push-ups, and then if you move, he's back to normal. So you got the running, it starts running, the jump. So it looks a lot better than it does when you're just previewing it. So yep, that's pretty much it. You've got the typical explode. That's obvious, and I'll go to level 1 and show off the other one. And I'm pretty sure that's about it. I could show more code, but there's really not that much point. It's a small project. It was all rushed. It's not, the code isn't that good. It could be a lot better. I actually don't think level 1's gonna work. No, level 1, it's gotta be level 3, I think. I'll just skip to level 3. It's way easier than going through 2 and 3. If you want to see the playthrough, just go to the playthrough video. But yep. So what I want to do here is I want to shrink. Now if I grow, you will see the other def. Yeah, it's not that good. but it gets the job done. And that is essentially it. That is No Man's Land. Just, yep, pretty much simple collisions. You actually see the roof here. So yeah, it's just really simple. I'm not. Which one actually has the roof in it? There, that one. I tried to keep them at the middle, I'm guessing, yeah. So yep, this one is set to roof. So if your roof points touch the roof and your ground points are touching the ground, you die. Simple, easy, gets the job done with limited amount of bugs. And that is essentially it. Like I said, if you want to see how all this turned out, check out the actual gameplay video. If not, just, I don't know, go back to my portfolio or check out someone else's videos. It doesn't matter to me. Just pick whatever you want to do. Anyway, thanks for watching this preview of the technical information about No Man's Land. I hope you enjoyed that. It's not that impressive, but I hope you enjoyed it anyway. I'll see you next time.